The hubby gave me peace. He's no longer doing anything in the background. He's just gonna lead me to my fight. Bye. So what are you doing? Close the door. I like messing with him. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Queen's Elevation Station. I'm your host, Taniqua Denise, and I am so happy to be back. Yes, I took a little hiatus. We will get into that in a minute. But I just wanted to say, first of all, Happy New Year. We can say Happy New Year until about the end of January, I think. Why not? Yes, I took a little hiatus. That was much needed for many different reasons. Burnout, overwhelm, holiday hosting, all of the things. And that basically inspired this episode of Queen's Elevation Station with Taniqua Denise. And I'm glad you tuned back in. If this is your first time, please stick around. Please subscribe, follow, like, share, all of those things. If you are coming back, thank you for coming back. I appreciate you. So, as we know, this is Queen's Elevation Station. This podcast is all about elevation. How we can do better, feel better, be better, love ourselves more, elevate, obviously. And I definitely was inspired to do this particular episode because it has been a lot going on. For me personally and professionally, I found myself in a place where I was overwhelmed. Being overwhelmed for me causes a lot of emotions, and I had to take a step back and really look at what I needed to do for me, because I have been pouring into everyone else, and a lot of us as moms, as wives, as entrepreneurs, as granddaughters and daughters and nieces and friends and all the hats we wear, we have a very hard time. It's very difficult to juggle all the things. However, in the midst of trying to juggle all the things, I found myself in need of tapping into myself. And that journey in itself, it has been difficult, but it has been rewarding. And there has been a lot of things that have happened over the course of these last few months. I would say from like October, November, the holiday season when it begins, up until after New Year's Day. So for me, it was about finding what works for me. And that took me back to the recipe for my best self. You know, taking that journey once again was very eye-opening. And that inspired me to share, because I feel like a lot of us have been going through things as we close out 2023 and started a new year, a new chapter, wearing all the hats and trying to do all the things. But at the end of the day, it is really about us. Until you take care of yourself, you really can't take care of anybody else in the way that they need, right? So if you want to show up for other people, it's really important that you show up for yourself first. That is major key. Eventually, you will always come back to a point of refocusing on yourself and being aware of what you need. So that's what happened. And for me, it was like, well, I know I'm not the only one experiencing this. And despite being a life coach, despite being pretty self-sufficient and a go-getter and a goal-getter and all those wonderful things, I'm human. And being human means definitely taking a look in the mirror and saying, Taniqua, what do you need? And it's important for us to do that. What do we need? Press pause for a minute in life, and in the midst of all the things, really take heed to what you need. So that's what I did. And what I found was I needed me. I really needed to do all the things that I needed to do for me. So, the term self-care has been coming up. It's been trending for quite a while. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. But what I don't want to hear once again, ever again, self-care Sunday or self-care Monday. Because at the end of the day, for me, what I realized is that we need self-care every single day. You heard what I said. Every single day. Self-care is not for one day a week. Like, we literally can pour into ourselves at some point, at some given time, every single day. And for me, that was instrumental. It was monumental to tap into what do I need at this time. And what I realized, what really helps and what really worked for me was a saturation of self-care. And I talk about this in another video that I will be posting on my YouTube channel. But self-care saturation goes beyond the self-care Sundays, goes beyond any one particular day. It's about saturating your life with self-care. It's about glamorizing your self-care. Really and truly, we deserve that. And what I realize is it's not about being trendy. What it's about is when you saturate your life with self-care and glamorize that self-care, what you're doing is literally filling up your cup. So I kept hearing this term, fill up your cup, fill up your cup. And I'm like, what? Okay, I want to do that. Sounds good. What is that? Well, for me, what it looks like is saturating it. Life will happen. Things will come. Trauma, challenges, despair, conflict. That's part of life. But when you have this cup and you're continuously filling it up, what you're actually doing is preparing yourself to take care of yourself, because life is going to come. But when life comes at you and this cup that you have is filled, yes, it's going to be depleted, to some extent, but there's going to be so much more that's there because you filled it up, right? So let's just say a breakup will take this much out your cup. If my cup is like this, okay, here go the breakup. But look how much I have left. So much more, right? Because I filled it up so much. And that's when it all clicked for me. And I'm like, oh, I got to share this because I'm 43. I just turned 43 in December. And for me, it's been a journey, a 10-year journey. I just came to realize today that it's been 10 years since I started an intentional journey of reflection and growth and manifestation and empowerment and all those things, right? So 10 years it took me to realize what this whole thing about my cup runneth over. Things happen and it takes some out of our cup, but we're not at the bottom. That's what it's about. That's what I had to do. I had to take this journey of what do I need for me? What do I need for me? Yes, I want to be a great wife. I want to be a great mom, a great daughter, amazing person and human being and philanthropist and all those things. But before I can step into that greatness, I have to take care of me first. It is not selfish. Self-care is sacred, not selfish. It is sacred. It is necessary because life comes at us. If we know the things that make us great, the things that make us feel real good, the things that fill our cup up, when life happens, we have a go-to. We have this go-to recipe. I know what fills me up. I know what I enjoy. I know what makes me feel good. Nobody wants to feel like they're in a rat race, right? Nobody wants to feel like they're going against the current. Sometimes life feels that way. But when we take time for ourselves, trust me, the hit is not as hard. It does not hit as hard, because what I found is when the difficult times come, because they will come, if we have a go-to recipe that fills us, that fulfills us, that makes us happy, that's what we can go to. We're not trying to figure it out. We're not trying to say, oh, okay, Dan, this is a really difficult time. What can I do? All right, what should I do? Well, how do I get back to me? You should already have a go-to recipe of what helps you get back to the best part of you. And that's what I want to really press upon everyone, is that when you're figuring out what feels good to you, what fills your cup, I know it sounds cliche, but here's the thing about those things that sound cliche or trending and all those, like it feels that way because it works, because there's this part of it that is so true, and people can't stop talking about it because it keeps working. People keep testing it out, and they find that, yes, this is a thing. Yes, it truly is a thing. When we fill our cup up, we are preparing ourselves for life. We are preparing ourselves for life. So I did some soul searching, and I got to the point where I was like, okay, here I go back in this rut, back in this state of depression. I took a step back from work, from social media, from the things, from the people and places. And I had to take time to check into myself. And that was life-changing. It was life-saving. And I want to impress upon you to do the same thing. Really figure out what you need in order to make you feel better. Not your man, not your mama, not your kids, but you. Get back to that recipe, write it down, tweak it, create it. So that's what I did. And in that exploration, I found tips and hacks to infuse glamour into my self-care rituals, my self-care routines. I had to glamorize it. Because why? Because I deserved it. Because the saturation of self-care is what I was looking for. I needed to glamorize and saturate self-care. And once I did those things, I felt much better about pushing forward and pushing through anything that life threw my way. And was it easy? No. Nothing ever worth having will ever be easy. So let's just get the word easy out of our, vocabulary. That's not what we're searching for. We're not searching for easy. We're searching for effective. So not only do we saturate our lives with self-care, like oversaturate. Like, what are you talking about, sis? What I'm talking about is, I ain't talking about self-care on Sunday. No. I'm talking about, I'm going to need self-care on Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, Fridays and Saturdays. And you're probably like, that's every day of the week. Yeah, that's what I'm going to need. That's what we deserve. Who came up with this one day a week type of thing? Absolutely not. I can absolutely find 30 minutes to an hour every single day. There are 24 hours in a day. If you cannot find an hour, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes of every day to do something that feels good to you, for you, how does that work? Right? Yes, you can. And that's what I found, was that doing those things replenished me. It put me in a place of clarity, of self-love, of energy, of greatness, of oneness. It was all the things I needed. The oversaturation part of it. That oversaturation part where it's like, is this too much? Absolutely not. When we're talking about self-love and self-care, what is too much? Like, what are you talking about too much? Like, no, I need it all. I'm on a budget. Aren't we all? But even with a budget, you can absolutely glamorize your self-care and then saturate your life with it. Can you imagine? What are you talking about? Yes, I'm talking about oversaturating our lives with self-care and glamorizing that self-care. It's so many different ways to do it. And in search of that, And I don't even know if I was searching for it or if it found me. But what I realized is that there are a lot of things out there. And what's important to do is to customize what works for you, because these influencers are influencing, right? But what we have to realize is that cut and paste, the copy and paste, that's not what's going to work. What's going to work is looking and finding different things that fit for you, that make sense for you, that you actually enjoy. If you're not a morning person, waking up at 4:30 in the morning and working out, that doesn't sound enjoyable if you're not a morning person. And I know all the girlies out there, all the influencers are getting up at 4 o'clock, 4:30, and they're working out and they're drinking their protein shakes and they're doing all the things. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's what I got to do? No, that's not what you have to do. What you have to do is figure out what works for you. And if you have to do that same routine at 11 a.m. instead of 4 a.m., it will have the same effect. Do not feel pressured to keep up with trends. It's not about that. It's about glamorizing and saturating what works for you. I want, personally, a lot of meditation and yoga. I want as much of it as I can get, to the point where I don't only do yoga now at yoga class. I do it at home because it feels really, really good. And I found a way to do it every single day, even if it's 10 minutes, because it feels really, really good. Meditation does not take 3 hours. Literally, you can meditate for 5 minutes and it's life-changing, right? You can manifest and do some manifestation journaling for 10 minutes. Life-changing. What works for you? Just because sis is doing it for 2 hours, or just because she does it every single day, does not mean you have to do it at that rate. You can literally say, okay, for me, I want to journal for 10 minutes every other day. Do you understand that that's just as, if not even more effective than trying to do something that somebody else is doing? Because what works for you works for you. And really what I want to press upon us is that it's about finding our own personal, customized recipe for greatness, for self-care, for that saturation of self-care, because it is so life-changing. So that's the saturation part, like just a lot of it. Just a lot of it every day. There are 24 hours in a day. So you can find 10 minutes in every single day to get some self-care in, right? Because if you leave it for one day a week, like for instance, for me, I had a commitment on Sunday to help out and be there and show up for families on a Sunday. So imagine if I had my self-care designated for Sundays. Oh, there goes my Sunday self-care. Absolutely not. No, first of all, I'm doing self-care every day. Second of all, even though I'm helping that person out for these amount of hours, I am going to carve out 2 hours to do some self-care before I show up for this commitment. So that's what I did. On Sunday, I had a commitment to show up for somebody that I love. What I'm not going to do is sacrifice my self-care because I'm showing up for somebody else. How does that work? No, I need to pour into myself so that when I do show up for that person, I'm showing up rejuvenated with a smile, not feeling resentment and angry or conflicted. No, I want to show up in my best self, and you can, as long as you make it a point. Oh, you need me to be there at 2, sis? Okay, I think I can be there at 3:30. Is that good? And when people say, oh no, I need you at, 2 p.m. sharp, you got to decide if that's something you're willing to work with. Because what you're not going to do is tell me how I need to organize my life in a way that makes sense for me. So maybe you're used to me showing up at 2, but this particular day I'm showing up at 4. Is that okay? You don't have to explain yourself, but in your head, for those 2 extra hours, I'm going to take a bubble bath. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do some stretching. I'm going to do some journaling. I'm going to make me a cup of tea. I'm going to soak my feet. I'm going to go for a walk, right? And still show up for the people that you committed to. You can do that, saturating yourself with self-care, but also showing up for the people that you love and for the things that you committed to. We have the saturation part. We may have to do a part 2, which is okay. This for me and for some of the clients that I'm working with has been life-changing, like an eye-opener, like one of those moments, like the light bulb just goes off. We want to glamorize our self-care. I don't care what your budget is. You do not have to have a big budget to luxurize and glamorize your self-care. These are some of the things that I have been inspired to do, influenced to do, or just figured this feels good to me and this is what I want to do for me. Here's one, and I'm going to tag the influencer that actually influenced me to try this. I just tried it. She mentioned it, I tried it, and I loved it. Playing jazz music, classical music, piano music in my house during the day. What? When I tell you, she said it, and I was like, first of all, I'm a music person. I love music. So I kind of was like, hold up, this sounds like a thing. And what did I do? The very next day, or maybe that same day, I say, hey, Google, play some classical piano music. And when I tell you the sound that permeated through the house, it felt good. It felt luxurious. It felt like I was in an expensive place. And I am. It's my home. It ain't cheap. I don't care where you stay at. Homes are expensive, right? Your home, you value it. You take pride in it. And it's something about playing classical music or piano music or jazz, right? I like soft jazz, but I also like smooth jazz. Soft jazz and smooth jazz, baby. When you play that in your home, that is luxury. It feels like luxury to me. Don't knock it until you try it. And also, if some of the things that I mentioned aren't, your cup of tea, it's okay. There are a few things that I'm going to mention that may not be your cup of tea. But maybe there's one thing that you're like, that sounds interesting. That sounds something like, and trust me when I tell you these are things that I've tried myself and that I found not only work for me to make me feel good, but it felt luxurious. It felt like, I'm just doing something extra for myself. And as minimal as it sounds, don't sleep, sis. Because those things that you do extra for yourself, that is what we call filling your cup. I don't know. For me, when I heard the term filling your cup, I was a little confused. Like, what are we talking about? Are we pouring water into a cup? No, what we're doing is doing things that feel good to us. And in order to know what feels good to us, we have to try different things. So that was one. The music in the house. Andre 3000. He has a new album. Well, it's not new anymore, but he has an album called, let me look it up real quick, because not for nothing, I sleep to this. And I wake up in a better mood. I get better sleep. And my girlfriend Dawn put me onto it. She was like, oh, have you listened to Andre 3000's new album? And I was like, no. And she was like, well, girl, it was a vibe. So I listened to it and I loved it. Once again, filling my cup. I keep hitting the mic. I'm sorry. New Blue Sun. That's what his album is called. And the titles of his songs are so hilarious and so dope. Those sounds and the music definitely fills my cup. So music, that's one way to definitely glamorize your life and your self-care. Luxury bathrobe bliss. That's another. Get you a nice, soft, silky, glamorous post-shower robe. It feels good. You're laying around. You're getting ready in your softest, most elegant, graceful, glamorous robe. It sounds small. It's not. It's huge. It's life-changing. You feel good. It sets the tone for the evening, for the day. Trust me when I tell you, the little things are the big things. Absolutely. I went from wearing t-shirts to bed. It's been a while. This is something I've been doing for quite a while, but I realize how impactful it has been is investing in some really soft, silky nightwear. You feel good. I don't care if you sleep alone or you have a significant other. At the end of the day, when you feel good, right? Like when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you feel good. So that's a way to bring a little glamour, And you may say, oh, Saniqua, that's so okay, maybe for you, it's a duh moment, but for somebody else, maybe it's like, okay, maybe I should try that. Yes, sis, try it. If you have not tried to upgrade your sleep, and let me tell you, between Amazon and Shein, you can do these things for the low. Okay? Perfume. Spray yourself. Invest in perfume. Now with Dossier and other businesses that are your alternative to luxury scents, it is possible to smell good on a budget. But when I tell you the aroma of your life, of yourself, of your room, of your sheets, of your space is uplifting. Oil diffuser. I've been doing that for quite a while and I sleep really well. Before we wrap this up, I definitely want to talk about glamorizing your reading nook. Why? Because behind me right here, this is my reading nook. This is my reading space. I try to always have flowers. I have a nice table. It's a small table with a shimmery tablecloth, candle, and the essential oil, and the air, and the perfume. It's a vibe. This is what I call glamorizing my self-care, because I can sit here and read my Bible, I can sit here and journal, and I create this space that really feels good to me, and I deserve that. I deserve it. And these are all the things I do on the daily, not on Sundays, but literally I do it every day, and it feels really, really good. And life happens, right? You get that phone call that pisses you off, that person that irks you, the balance in your bank account that you wasn't expecting. And at the end of the day, you can come back to the things that make you feel good. But when you define them in advance, when you set the tone and you know what works for you and what feels good to you, you have your go-to. So you don't wait until life happens and say, oh my gosh, I just want to feel better. What can I do? No, don't wait. Set these things up now. Have your go-to recipe, the things that really feel good to you, that fill your cup, that give you this energy of enjoying your spaces and the places and all the things, right? Do that so that you are prepared when life happens. Life is going to happen, unfortunately. And I'm not talking about in a good way. I'm talking about the things that we don't want to happen, but they do happen. And what I'm encouraging us to do is, because I find that it is so instrumental, so fulfilling, is that when we define what works for us, what feels good to us, we have this go-to. And not only the go-to, these are the things we're doing so that when the hit comes, we're not depleted. We are actually at a place where we can just refill and rebuild. We're not starting from the bottom because we started from the top. I will definitely have a part 2 because I have so many different suggestions to, help us glamorize our self-care, because 1, we deserve it, and 2, it is essential to our well-being. It really is. I am encouraged to share this message because so many of us come to a point in our lives where it does feel like, we're going against the current, that all the odds are stacked against us, but it's not. Let's take every challenge and accept it as a moment to grow and to become more resilient and more knowledgeable It's not something that has been created to destroy us, but rather to build us and to rebuild us. And I just want to encourage us to just keep that in mind. There is a blessing in every lesson. This is Queen's Elevation Station. We're all about elevating and becoming our best selves as we uplift each other to become better. I love y'all. And thank you for sticking around. Let me know in the comments if there's any other topics you want to talk about. I definitely will be doing a part 2 on how to glamorize your self-care. That's what we're doing. 2024. I just want to share this. For me, for 2024, it's about saturating my life with self-care. And my second one is focus on yourself. Don't worry about what nobody else is doing. Yes, you can take suggestions, you can take tips, you can try different things, get ideas from other people, but do not think it's a copy and paste. Nobody's life is like ours. So to think you can copy and paste what somebody else is doing and it's going to work for you in the way that it works for them, because just because they posting it don't mean that it's working for them. And in order to figure out what works for you is to try different things and be very honest with yourself about, is this working for me or not? Is this something that makes me feel better? Is this something that motivates me or inspires me? It's about finding your own recipe to greatness. It's about focusing on yourself. And it's definitely about saturating yourself with self-care. A whole bunch of it. So until next time, I'm so happy to be back. Saying until next time, it feels like, well, when she come? Nah, I'll be back. I'm going to stay on this train of encouraging us. And I say us because I'm not excluded. I'm not exempt from this work. But we are definitely going to encourage one another in this community to be great. This is near and dear to my heart. This is my God-given purpose, is to help others as I help myself be greater and be better and do better things. So until next time, please don't forget to subscribe, comment, share, all the beautiful things. And I'll see you right here. I'll see you right here next time on Queen's Elevation Station. I love y'all. Be well and keep elevating.